Greetings, everyone. Thank you for following up on these sessions and for being part of the discussions. So today I'm going to talk about pharmaceutical marketing essentials and the place of a pharmacist, that is in terms of what are the key drivers in terms of pharmaceutical marketing. And other than the key drivers we are looking at, why would it be good for a pharmacist to venture into this place as a practice area in their professional life? So the reason as to why I'm working on this particular topic today is because there have been observations I've made in the last couple of weeks where we've seen people who are not qualified to do pharmaceutical marketing, that is one in terms of the professional knowledge, and two, the principles of pharmaceutical marketing have not been adhered to. And that is putting the public at risk and health actually going against the principles of best practices in the medical practice or in the medical field, as we could say it. So the first thing that we have to acknowledge in this particular moment is when we talk about pharmaceutical marketing, there are product classifications and there are different classes of pharmaceutical products. So when you talk about medicines, there are prescription-only medicines. These are medicines that can only be used with the authorization and actually with the written permission of a medical practitioner who is qualified to prescribe or to manage a particular condition. For example, when we have somebody who's suffering from cancer, anti-cancers are to be prescribed by professionals who are oncologists. And in that case, then for you to use any anti-cancer product, it has to be prescribed by either a specialist or a general practitioner who is qualified and has experience in managing particular cancers and are able to prescribe that medicine. So it's not a medicine that you'd go anywhere and buy it at that particular moment unless you have a prescription. The second class of medicines are pharmacy-only medicines. And these are medicines that can be sold by a pharmaceutical practitioner, that is either a pharmacist or a pharmaceutical technologist or technician, depending on the jurisdiction within which you're operating. So these medicines, there are restrictions on how they can be used, and those restrictions are as per the guidelines on what are the risks that they pose to the general public and what level of knowledge is required for the person who would prescribe or even give directions on their use. And therefore, that is the second class, and they with higher restrictions. Then we have the general use medicines, general sales medicines or over the counter. For example, the basic paracetamol that anybody could go buy from any other medical shop. Those are under the over the counter and we consider them to be lower risk, but it doesn't mean that they don't have a risk. And at the same time, even these, there are restrictions on who can sell them, who can market them, and how you could do it. So those are provisions that are normally provided for. So when we look at those classifications, then we ask ourselves, what does pharmaceutical marketing entail as we look at the principles now? So pharmaceutical marketing as a principle by itself and as a practice is the act of marketing a medicine, a pharmaceutical product. And marketing is the sharing of information with the intent to help people use those products. But in this particular case, when you talk about pharmaceutical marketing, the intent of your communication and your discussion with whichever person you're dealing with, it is to influence them in part one, some way or the other. But the key bit of it is to inform them, to let them know that there's a product that is available in the market. That is one, informative. Other than informing them, you need to enlighten them based on the clinical management, because we know use of medicines as a medical practice is not only for the sake of using. It's not the same way I would take any food just to get full. Medicines are used to manage conditions or to alleviate symptoms, or even to treat conditions that are not we are affected with. So if you're feeling unwell and you need medication, then we need to let people who can manage you, or even you as a person over the general sales medicines, you need to know which medicines can help you manage such kind of a condition. So that is what principle of pharmaceutical marketing, that is to enlighten everyone, the people who are responsible. That is, if it's the general sale, that is to the general public. What information should I convey to the general public? What conditions can this particular product manage? And once you've known that, what are the limitations on the use of such kind of a product? That would be critical. Then when I'm dealing with healthcare practitioners, those are healthcare doctors, pharmacists, nurses, clinicians, and all, because they have some basic background of medicines and even the special cases that they're dealing with, depending on the condition that we are addressing, then there is a way that I need to package that information and make it be palatable to them. It makes sense to them, and it also doesn't waste much of their time going through whatever they're used to understanding. That is the first principle. So when we look at these principles as they are, when pharmaceutical marketing is about sharing knowledge about medicines and the facts and the scientific rationale behind it, is it objective? Is it objective or subjective? In the subjective sense would be, I'm telling you this drug X is better than drug A. Then what is the basis of that deduction? And if it is better, then why do we have drug A instead of drug X only available in the market? Because we want everybody to have access to the best medicine that is proven to be effective in management of their diseases without risking the public health interest and the public health situation that we are dealing with at any one particular moment in time. So the first principle, we have to look at it from the basis of interaction that I've mentioned, is to give information. And it is an avenue where the industry medicines are not produced by doctors. They would be produced by pharmaceutical companies and all. And therefore, we have representatives who work on behalf of these pharmaceutical companies and different distributors to create awareness about their products to the healthcare practitioner, so that when you're managing a patient, you have an idea of what options in medicines are available that can be used in treating any particular condition. So in that kind of sharing information and bringing a basis for interaction between the industry and the healthcare providers is give the information, you tell them what condition it's indicated for, what are the findings from studies that is on their safety, how effective are the quality of that medicine, any risks that have been there. For example, you might find some drugs you're told, these are the potential adverse events or the side effects of that particular product. What are the contraindications? When am I not allowed to use a particular drug? For example, when you go to the pharmacy, most of the times you're told don't use alcohol when you're taking these medicines. That kind of information is informed by justification that have come from different practice areas, and therefore you're being told you need not to use it because it might cause side effects that you might react against, and therefore those are to be avoided. So that is the basis of that interaction, creating a platform where we can share knowledge from the industry, the developers of the medicine, and to the healthcare providers who are dealing with patients and offering that care. The second bit is independence of the healthcare provider. The second principle is when I'm selling medicines as a pharmaceutical marketer and actually creating awareness about it to the healthcare workers, I should not be able to influence them to use my drug against others unless it's based on science. It's based on the authenticity of the information, the rationality, and the objectivity. If a pharmacist or a healthcare worker wanted to use drug A and they believe it is the best one, my interaction with them as a pharmaceutical marketer should not make them go for drug X, which is not the best for that patient. They should be left to be objective enough to apply their scientific and knowledge expertise in terms of their medical practice and to give the patient the best quality of care. Then they should promote appropriate use. And in this particular area, I'm going to talk about it in the sense of we know about antimicrobial stewardship and antimicrobial resistance. Oftentimes we use antibiotics and the bacteria or the infectious pathogens that we have in our bodies might now start reacting or actually developing defenses against these antibiotics. And when they do, it makes them not able to work. And when this happens, then we have to acknowledge that we are losing our arsenals, we are losing our defenses against infections. So when we talk about appropriate use, we're looking at it in the sense that there are different classes of antibiotics. Can we start from the lower level, which will treat you, yes, but at the same time, it allows us that in case you get another infection that is more persistent, that is stronger than this, we can use a higher level of antibiotic so that we have our public health systems working and access to antibiotics when they're needed to be assured that they will work, not that we are risking their failure. So that is appropriate use, rational use. You're using the right medicines for the right indication at the right time in the right dose. So that information has to be shared because even from the development, we'd look at it from the sense of this medicine treats this condition. It needs to be used for 5 days and not 3, or even 3 and not 8 days or 10 days. Then once we've indicated that, how many times should you take it in a day? Once, twice, or thrice. That is based on scientific research that has been done. So that kind of information needs to be provided to the healthcare provider or even the patients who are using it. What is the limit? How much more should you not take? For example, when you're dealing with some of the over-the-counter medicines, for example, paracetamol, you need to be told how much can you take and how much should you not take during the day. Then what are the local regulations? Each and every country, as we acknowledged when I was mentioning about regulatory affairs in the previous video, we know that there are guidelines and there are regulations on which products are being marketed and which ones are not in the market. And therefore, these regulations guide which products should get to the patients and which ones should not, based on their safety, efficacy, and quality, and who is taking responsibility for it. And that is why you have to have a company or an organization that is allowed to trade in medicines to be able to be allowed to sell. So those regulations, do we meet those regulations? Is the medicine that I'm advertising registered in the particular country in which I am advertising it or marketing it to? to be used by members of the public and even healthcare workers. So I have to conform to local regulations and I have to meet those standards. Then two, it has to be transparent. If I'm marketing a particular medicine, I need to be able to share and let everybody listening to my presentation know that I am representing this particular company X, and this is why I'm talking about their product, but I don't want you to make a guess that you have to favor my product because I'm marketing it to you. You need to serve the patient the best way possible and ensure that is working for the good of our entire community in terms of expansive access to healthcare services. So those are the key principles. Unbiased information, objective science, and that is what pharmaceutical marketing should entail. But then we look at it from the other perspective now when I'm looking at the medical representative. Why do we think pharmacists are better positioned to be medical representatives? Because one, in terms of our training, we have the basic sciences, that is physiology, anatomy, and all. We understand the body processes. By understanding that, when we advance in our senior years of education, you now go into the specifics of medicine, pharmacology. How does the drug interact with your body systems? How does it work? How is it broken down? What effects does it have? The toxic effect, toxicology. Therefore, you understand the mechanisms of the drug, as we normally say, pharmacists are the medicines experts. That expertise is even better when you're now promoting a substance that you understand its advantages and its disadvantages in terms of the toxic effects that it might have. And therefore, with that basic class of knowledge, you're able to make an informed decision and advise the person you are informing about this particular product better to make the best decision for the patient. Two, integrity. I should not be working as a medical representative if I'm influencing people unjustifiably, actually through corrupt means, by even giving them bribes, incentivizing them, sending them to conferences which might not be scientifically valid, but because I want them to favor and prescribe my medicines. That should not be a principle. So with pharmacy, based on the professionalism that is taught in school and all that, they should be able to adopt integrity as a core pillar in terms of their practice, and that would be an enabling factor. Then a medical representative should be appropriately trained in pharmaceutical marketing principles and pharmaceutical marketing as a component, as a domain. And this is one of the things that is taught in the final years of pharm school. When you're getting out of school, you've understood what pharmaceutical marketing entails and why you need to be responsible as a marketer if you get to that place of work. Then two, you have to be permitted by the health authority. The health authority has to allow you to be a practitioner, to be a pharmaceutical marketer, and that is based on the application from a company that is employing you as a pharmaceutical marketer, justifying that they're taking responsibility. And when you speak into the public, when you speak to patients, you are representing them. You stand on their behalf. Therefore, they can defend you in case there's any litigation against you. So when we look at these dynamics and all that, and the recent observations that we've had in the market, one, the marketers that we've had are not qualified individuals, because the general requirement is you need to be able to have sufficient medical and pharmaceutical knowledge. Therefore, you have to have a life sciences background. Most of the people who are doing marketing in some spaces, especially the social media platforms, most of them have zero medical background or pharmaceutical knowledge, and therefore they're selling medicines to the public as somebody who is selling food. And even food has restrictions. So what are we doing? Are we selling sweets or are we selling medicines to the public? We need to take precautions and avoid such. Two, when we're talking about the information that these people are sharing in the social media platforms, they're telling you that one product is flavored over the others. Yes, it's flavored, but do you understand why is it given another flavor instead of what the others are used for? The others that don't have flavors. So once you understand the principle of having additional excipients such as the flavors, the taste, and the colors in medicines, you need to have an information. And if you don't have that and you're selling it as additional benefit to the public, then you're making them use it like somebody who's taking a sweet, but instead of that, they're taking a medicine and you have to know the implications. In this particular case, it was about a paracetamol product. And in this case, when you look at it, paracetamol is noted to have toxicities that might affect your liver. So if you're going to keep selling them to the public like somebody who is selling sweets, we are risking them overusing them. And this is a social media platform that access is not limited to any age group. So therefore, even children can have access. And if a child is told that it has a particular flavor, there's a higher chance that they'd want to take this particular product. That case, we are poisoning them. And even in the particular video that I saw that I'm mentioning and referring to at this particular moment, it was mentioned that a particular strength is good for children. On what basis is it good for children? Is it a food product that they need to be taking? For example, we'd be told yogurts are good for children or so. So those are some of the measures that we need to look into. And then another thing that pharmaceutical companies need to take note of is the fact that use of celebrities and personalities in the public domain is not allowed in pharmaceutical marketing. The reason being, they would actually put some undue influence onto the public. If it's somebody that I look up to and they market a particular product, the chances are I would want to do that. It's the same way in the fashion industry. If somebody wears a particular set of clothes and you look up to them, you'd want to own such kind of a cloth as well. But what if it's now medicine? Somebody's talking about it and you feel you trust them and all, you're going to use that medicine. But probably you're not using it for the right reason, for the right disease, which is putting the public at risk. And I think we can do better and we need to do better. And I'm hoping we get more qualified professionals, individuals with life sciences background. Maybe you're doing biological sciences, pharmaceutical technologists, pharmacists, medical doctors, and even biochemists and biotechnologists, clinicians, nurses. We need people with life sciences background to do pharmaceutical marketing because they possess that background. And I believe better placed are pharmacists who are able to do that better, applying their knowledge and also working in the domain of their expertise as the medicines experts. I hope you make use of this and you guide each other so that we make better decisions moving forward. Thank you and meet you next week on Friday. Thank you so much.